MeMonster.
Chapter 201. Two-Way. I spat out the blood that filled my mouth. No matter when I taste it, it always feels disgusting. After shaking the blood off my halberd, the corpse of the knight, sliced in half, finally fell to the ground. Ha ha ha! Did you see that? The power of this body? Stop bragging and come back. The sparrow turned into a red lightning bolt and returned to my left arm. I lowered the spearhead of the halberd. The soldiers hesitated and stepped back. What the hell is that guy? I took a deep breath. It felt like my lungs were burning, as if I had swallowed flames. I might not look it, but my body was already damaged from the inside out. I wish they would just run away. They hesitated, but they didn't retreat. They faced me, using barricades and obstacles as cover. How annoying! Support troops rushed in from behind. I spun the halberd around. Move away! Don't retreat! Hold on until reinforcements arrive! Of course, they didn't listen. I aimed the halberd at the officer and charged. Arrows rained down, but I spun the halberd like a windmill, deflecting them all, then sliced through the officer who had drawn his sword. I leapt over the 2-meter-high barricade in a single bound. Die! A soldier thrust a spear at me. I can't afford this. I didn't have the luxury to deal with all of them. Drawing on the power of ascend, I dodged the spear and stepped on the soldier's shoulder. Ah! Stepping hard, I must have broken his collarbone. Before the soldier fell, I jumped again. Stop him! Don't let him pass! Pip-pip-ping! Arrowheads grazed my thigh. A shallow trickle of blood spattered. I dodged all the spears and swords the soldiers swung at me and ran toward the cave entrance. A black knight clad in iron armor blocked the entrance. Not yet. I couldn't die here. Whoosh! I dodged the greatsword swinging at my head and kicked the knight's back as I passed by, then quickly dashed into the cave. 523 level 25 Church Army soldiers, 53 level 31 Church Army Knights, and 13 level 38 Black Knights. Looking back, the enemies swarmed like ants. Pursue him! Just before ascend ended, I raised the halberd toward the cave ceiling. Skill Soul Blade Fusion activated. I poured 100% of my power into Soul Blade Fusion, using my entire body. Boom! The sound was like dynamite exploding, and chunks of stone fell from the ceiling. Soon after, the surroundings darkened. The ceiling had collapsed, blocking the entrance. I threw away the halberd, now just a spear shaft. Collapsing, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. Han, 4 stars, has left the ascend state. There wasn't a part of me that didn't hurt. I was nearly in a critical state. It was hard to move my body. I took out a potion from the pouch behind my belt. Pop. After several slips, I managed to open the potion. Gulp. Already at your limit? The road ahead is long? Don't be ridiculous. I had only broken through the first stage, and he's saying I'm at my limit. I drank the potion and looked around. Lamps were lit at various points in the cave passage. Somewhere in this place was the 3rd key. And that woman must be waiting. Despite causing such a commotion at the fortress, she didn't appear, so something must be going on. Anyway, this was self-inflicted suffering. If I threw away everything like Iolka, anything, and Taunia and moved on, I could live comfortably. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Why am I taking the hard road? If I had stayed when Yornit asked me to remain in Niflheim, I could have enjoyed all the luxury and lived comfortably. Have I gone mad? I was no longer normal. At some point, I knew, even if I returned to Earth, I would never be the same as before. No matter how delicious the food, casual chatting, or fun games, I wouldn't be able to enjoy anything. Everything was gray. The only moments I felt joy was when I sent flying the opponent who sneered at me when I ripped off that guy's head. I'm completely psychopathic. Can you fight? Of course. My body was slowly regaining some vitality. I went through such hardships. I even trained with Jenna holding a whip to endure pain. It seems the special training paid off. Even though I used Ascend to its limit, after a short rest, I recovered enough to move again. Physical training is really the best. Rrr. When I pulled out the arrow stuck in my back, blood flowed out. I poured the almost depleted healing potion on the wound. Is the black dragon blood back? You can use it once more. That's enough. I think I'm ready. I stood up, leaning on a protruding stone on the wall. The cave was a straight path, so there was no worry of getting lost. I caught my breath and moved inward. After walking for about 10 minutes, the scenery changed. The cave widened, and a rotten smell like decaying meat filled the air. I looked down. Corpses were scattered everywhere. I knelt and examined one of them. Is this a joined tribe member? Where arms should be, there were wings and claws. Harpy. I'd seen these creatures a few times in the sections before the 10th floor. They were dead in droves. Considering the situation so far, the culprit was obvious. It's not a rare case. There are missions where heroes and monsters from two factions engage in a three-way battle. I thought it was strange not to see the joined tribe outside, but this explained it. How foolish! This works in my favor. If they fight each other, I should welcome it with open arms. I found a usable sword among the joined tribe's corpses. It would be inconvenient to fight barehanded, so I decided to keep it. If only I had Bifrost. Damn it! I shouldn't have shown off at that event. I continued to follow the narrow cave path. After squeezing through a narrow gap, I found a wide open cavern. The walls of the cavern were filled with dozens of holes, and inside them were beds and household items. It seemed to be a village of the joined tribe. The number of corpses here was many times greater than in the passage. Not only joined corpses, but also human soldiers' corpses were mixed in. I searched the soldiers' belongings and found a few throwing daggers. After taking a short break, I moved into a passage on the left side of the cavern. After walking for about 10 more minutes, a vibration and explosion echoed from far away. Are they fighting? I caught the timing just right. If I'm lucky, I might be able to reap the benefits. I slowed my pace, slightly bending my body. The fresh smell of blood wafted in. Blood. Inside the cave wall, a male joined tribe member was groaning with a stalactite piercing his chest. His entire left side was burned and festering. It was evident he had been hit by a fire spell. He was the first living creature I encountered since entering this place. I approached him. You... Don't worry, I came to kill that woman. The joined tribe member groaned. I have something to ask. Why are you fighting each other? Did they insult you for having a high-pitched voice?
This guy probably knows what's going on. He was bleeding thick, black blood. This blood was a direct sign of being contaminated by Tell. I brought my ear to the joined tribe member's mouth, but I didn't hear the answer I wanted. He's dead. Seems like it. I sighed. The skewered joined tribe member's head drooped. It seems I need to go deeper into this cave to find out. I closed the joined tribe member's wide-open eyes and moved further into the cave. The violent explosion sounds were gradually decreasing. This is it. At the end of the passage, turning to the right, something awaited. I caught my breath lightly. I couldn't say my body was in good condition. To be honest, it wasn't great. I had activated Ascend for nearly 30 minutes and even used Soul Blade Fusion at the end. If it were my former self, I would have died from the penalty long ago. This isn't normal. This mission is not normal. What should exist is gone, and what shouldn't exist has appeared. Well, was it ever normal? No matter what comes out, I'll just kill and eliminate it. Be prepared. No need to say it. I drew the rusted sword from its sheath and moved forward. It looked like a shrine. Luxurious marble columns were set on both sides, and a rectangular altar could be seen inside. A small, glowing orb floated above the altar. That's the key. I dismissed the orb from my mind for now. It wasn't important right now. Danger. White feather. Rakavi C. Raka. Level 63. On the brick path leading to the altar stood a young woman wearing a pure white robe and a wooden crown. 2 large pairs of wings spread from her sides. Our eyes met. The woman opened her mouth. We wanted to turn back. Crack. In the next moment, the woman shattered into pieces. Amazing. A woman in a blood-stained blue robe emerged from behind a pillar. The robe, which should have been blue, was so soaked with blood that its original color was unrecognizable. To think you broke through that fortress. I thought for sure you would die. Danger. Lord of Schuttenberg. Persein Riedel von Straven. Level unknown. Persein's eyes curved into a crescent moon shape. How did you get here? I exterminated all the Asenis. Did you summon some special reinforcements? I just broke through. What? Persein blinked, then suddenly burst into laughter. You broke through high walls and gates, thousands of soldiers and hundreds of knights to get here? Does it sound like a lie? No. Actually, it crossed my mind. I thought you could do it. I just didn't think you would. I glanced around the shrine once more. There were bloodstains and feathers scattered everywhere. It seemed the situation was already over, and the sorceress in front of me was unscathed. Anyway, since you're here, it means you want to die. Persein's eyes shone blue. Her pupils throbbed with visible, powerful magic. If you had stayed put, you might have lived until the time limit. Where are the other 2? Why do you care? It seemed the sparrow's words were right. The Beast King and the Saintess had returned to their original locations. The only one here was this crazy sorceress. Hey. I smiled and opened my mouth. Didn't I tell you before? Think about what sound your head will make when it gets cut off. Arrogant. With no plan, just a reckless approach, I made it here. If I had tried to sneak in, I would have fallen into her trap. According to the sparrow, the whole fortress was covered with detection magic. The situation is not good. My physical condition was at its worst. By now, the blocked cave should have been broken through, and reinforcements would be coming. And the sorceress in front of me was extremely powerful. But I had to end it here, no matter what. So you... I looked up. What I saw was the plain ceiling of the cave, but anything would be watching. I couldn't guess what he was thinking. Maybe he was considering quitting, wondering what kind of game this was. Just cheer for me. I snapped my fingers. Master, Han, 4 stars, requests your support. For a moment, anything didn't move the control panel, but eventually he did. Opening the battle shop. You have selected the high-grade cheering glow stick. One-time use, 100 gems. Would you like to purchase it? Yes. Put your soul into waving it. That would give me strength too. I pointed my sword at Persein. Now let's start the real fight.
Chapter 202. Slide the screen left and right. Show your support for the hero. Flash. A glowing stick shook in front of my eyes. It was the master's support, visible only to me. I smiled as I prepared to dash forward. Looks like you're pretty hurt. Can you still swing that sword of yours properly? Persein sneered, the corner of her mouth curling up. Magic spheres swirled near her robe. You may not know this, but I am the pinnacle of all magicians in Taunia. The magic spheres spun fiercely. If I were even grazed by one of those, my flesh would be torn apart as if put through a blender. Pinnacle, huh? I calmed my breath. Han, remember my words. The sparrow whispered in my mind. I know. I've heard this person's specs endlessly. The head of the magic family, called the Devil of Schuttenberg, a title passed down since ancient times. That woman had become several times stronger than in her previous life. She was continuously drawing on her magical power. Even after casting hundreds of spells, she never tired. Persane had a nearly infinite reservoir of magical power. In contrast, I throb. The pounding in my heart grew stronger. My body was warning me. It was dangerous to keep moving. What a joke. All I needed to do was kill the woman in front of me. It was too late to say I couldn't now. Don't be ridiculous. Die. Persane's eyes dimmed. At the same time, the magic spheres scattered, leaving afterimages. I forced my unresponsive body to move. Boom. The ground where I had just stood caved in. Persane floated gently into the air. Fire, ice, wind, and lightning, magic spheres containing the 4 elements scattered and shot toward me. I dodged, weaving between the pillars. Smart. But if I destroy those pillars, it will be the end. Boom. Lightning bolts smashed the pillars with intense light. There's no time. If this dragged on, I would lose. While her magical power was infinite, my stamina was limited. My body was already wrecked before coming here. It seemed unlikely I could last even 5 more minutes. Do not use the Soul Blade fusion. You will surely die. I know that too. If I used Soul Blade fusion, I could kill her, but with my weakened body, I wouldn't survive the backlash. I came here to win, not to die. You have one chance. Whoosh! A hellish flame spread out in front of me. I climbed a broken pillar, stepped on the ceiling, and dodged far away. As soon as I landed, lightning chased me, and when I ducked, an ice spear brushed past my head. A complete mass destruction weapon. It felt like she could sweep through thousands alone on the battlefield. How long will you keep running? You can't kill me like that. Are you fighting with your mouth? I pulled a dagger from my belt and threw it. Ting! The blade made a pathetic sound as it bounced off Persane's barrier. As expected, rushing in recklessly would have been a bloody mistake. I hid behind a split pillar. Boom, bang, boom. She intended to destroy the entire cave. Magic poured down from all directions. If the cave gets destroyed, you will die. Either way, I die. So what should I do? Kill before you are killed. It wasn't entirely hopeless. There was a chance of victory for me. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't have come. She doesn't know. What kind of power dwells in my left arm? What kind of technique I use and how much explosive power I can generate? Exploiting that was my only path to victory. I rolled on the floor. Rock blades stabbed into the place where I had been. Finally, her magic reached this far. Come to think of it, you seemed pretty close with my disciple. Trying to provoke me was useless. My mind was endlessly calm. Countless possibilities and variables flashed through my mind like lightning. It's almost over. I wouldn't drag this out any longer. My left leg had already stopped responding. Beyond where Persane stood, the glowing stick rippled violently. Anything. Was swinging the support stick with all his might. Watch closely. Just once. I twisted the sword handle. Cracks ran along the blade, and magical bombardment was about to rain down from above. Farewell, pathetic hero. Persane aimed her magic spheres at me. Dozens of magic spheres attacked from left and right, from above and below. Go. I flipped the switch in my mind. Han, 4 stars, has entered ascend mode. Gulp. At that moment, blood spurted from my mouth and my vision went white. I bit my tongue hard enough to bleed. Only then did my vision return. A fireball shot toward me from the front. I twisted my body to the right and stepped on the floor. Bang! My body shot out like an arrow. Persane's eyes narrowed. Indeed, I could move this fast. Persane snorted and swung her hand. Crackle. A wall of lightning rose in front of me. I reached out my left hand. Unique skill Black Dragon Scale activated. This hero is immune to magic. As the lightning touched my left hand, the wall vanished. I increased my speed even further. Persane's expression twisted in frustration, but she quickly swung her hand again. Quick judgment. Light beam shot from the sides and behind, a place my left arm couldn't reach. She instantly figured out the weakness of the Black Dragon Scale. This much. I twisted my body. The light arrows pierced my forearm and thigh. If I couldn't avoid them, I made sure they hit non-lethal spots. Han, 4 stars, is in a critical condition. His life is in danger. It's okay. I've reached this point before. I drew back my right arm holding the sword, to kill her with one strike. Even so, it's no use. Persane twisted her lips, then moved them silently. I command you. Persane pointed at me with her right hand. It's here. The mysterious technique that killed Delphine, the strongest in the Empire, and the leader of the joined tribe, the White Feather, in one strike. The sparrow said it was an ancient power lost long ago. The Death Eye. Just by seeing, pointing, and speaking, it could instantly kill one designated target. When I first heard about it, I thought it was absurd, but no, it really was a cheat skill. Die. Persane's eyes split sideways, revealing dragon eyes. The Black Dragon Scale won't stop it. It wasn't really a magic spell. Therefore, repay the favor. Screech! A dark red lightning burst from my extended left arm and the sparrow shot out. I'm not alone here. Crack. The sparrow flew and instantly scattered into blood clumps. Its body here was dead, but the pigeon in the waiting room would still be alive. I grinned. The hand covered in dragon scale touched the magical barrier. This hero is immune to magic. And then, goodbye. Crack! The blade pierced her heart. That was the end. The rampant magic ceased all at once. Persane staggered back with a sword stuck in her left chest. In her wide-open eyes, I saw my figure drenched in blood. Just like this. I let go of the sword handle. Thud. Persane taps to the ground. She never moved again. Huff. I took a deep breath. The second Ascend activation. Even with my body trained to the limit, using Ascend consecutively was a risk that could not be imagined. It wouldn't have been surprising if I had died during the fight, but I managed to endure somehow. My entire body was soaked in blood, both mine and hers. If a monster like the Beast King had been with her, I wouldn't have won even if I died and came back to life. I would have buried my bones here. The very idea that she would be alone was a gamble. The sparrow said that, since the monsters hadn't completely broken free of their restrictions yet, the bosses who left their floors couldn't stay away for long. That prediction seemed to have been correct. Barely supporting my collapsing body, I walked toward the altar. Calling this an altar was an embarrassment. The marble pillars on both sides were shattered and destroyed, and the walls and ceiling were pitted and collapsed. It looked as if the entire cave could cave in at any moment. The final key. I grabbed the orb on the altar and put it in my pocket. Floor 45. Mission type, delivery. Objective, deliver the key to the special NPC. The mission objective window updated. Delivery. As long as I handed this to Priya, the tough section of the 45th floor would be over. I could return to the waiting room. As expected. Tap, tap, tap. Faint footsteps echoed from beyond the passage. The pursuers had already entered the cave. They would probably arrive here in about 10 minutes. Priya was waiting for me in a cave outside the fortress. I had carefully concealed the entrance using the surrounding terrain, and thanks to the chaos I had created here, she wouldn't be in danger. But getting to her was the problem. There was only one way out, the same way I had come in. Suddenly, my vision darkened.
I nearly collapsed, but managed to regain my balance. Every inch of my body felt like it was being torn apart. I gritted my teeth and kept moving. As long as I didn't die. Even if my body was shredded and my limbs severed, as long as I could deliver the key to Priya, my condition would soon return to normal. One last obstacle remained. I had to evade the pursuers, exit the fortress, and return to the hideout. If that was even possible. I clutched my left side. Blood continued to pour out. I had exhausted all my strength, and now my legs wouldn't move as I wanted. In my current state, I couldn't even guarantee a victory against a single soldier. Outside, hundreds of soldiers were waiting for me. Once they learned I had killed their leader, they would come at me with bloodshot eyes. Damn it. For now, I decided to keep moving. The odds were less than 1,000, but I wouldn't know unless I tried. As I stumbled forward, thunk. Someone grabbed my leg. Looking down, I saw the upper half of a birdman staring at me. Peek! Blood and a whistling sound escaped from his mouth. He was the birdman called the White Feather or something. He was still alive. I shook off the birdman's arm and tried to move again, but the birdman grabbed my leg again. Let go. Save. Funk. The birdman's head fell off. He was dead. Holding my leg with his left hand and pointing at the wall with his right. What did he mean? I looked at the wall he was pointing at. It was a mess from Prasin's magical bombardment. Was he referring to that? Light was seeping through a crack in the collapsed wall. Before I knew it, the sky had darkened. I was walking through a forest bathed in faint moonlight. To the east of the fortress, in the corner of the floating island, lay the hideout where I had hidden for a week. I barely survived. It wasn't the first time I had been on the brink of death. This was nothing new. I clutched the orb in my left hand. The orb, which originally shone white, was now stained with blood, losing its glow. It was better this way than to be a glowing target. After walking for a while, I saw the dense thicket. I confirmed the 3 knife marks carved in the base of a tree, the imprint I had left there to mark this place. I tapped the large rock in the thicket 3 times with the hilt of my sword. The bushes parted to reveal the entrance to a cave. And then, Han! I pushed Priya, who was about to rush out, back into the cave and closed the entrance. There were still many pursuers outside, and we had to be cautious until the end. Luckily, we weren't detected. A campfire was burning inside the cave. Nothing had changed since I left, which means Priya hadn't moved an inch from this spot. What on earth happened? What are those wounds? Sit down. Take this first. I handed the orb to the bewildered Priya after seating her. This is... Can't you tell? It's what you were looking for. Thud. I collapsed next to the campfire. If I closed my eyes, I might die. My vision was blurry. I barely held on to consciousness as I examined my wounds. My whole body was ravaged. I rarely got this badly injured. Anything screen was already flashing red, signaling my critical condition. We need to treat you first, right? Wait, It'll be fine when I go back. In the corner of the cave, a glowing bubble was rising. Though faint, I could recognize it. It was the signal for mission completion and the return to the waiting room. Somehow I managed. I leaned against the rock wall. The objective was accomplished. Retrieving the key and returning to the waiting room for recovery. At least next time, I could bring the members of the waiting room with me. That alone was a significant achievement. I looked at Priya. This girl had been with me long enough to understand some things about the missions. Priya lowered her eyes, holding the herb-filled clay pot. So, you're going back? We'll see each other again on the 46th floor. We'll see each other often from now on, to the point of being sick of it.
I wonder how it'll go. When I return to the waiting room, Priya will be left alone here. Gathering the keys was just the beginning. To destroy the eggs of the fragments, she needed to escape the floating island. Is that the mission for the 46th floor? I should strategize to some extent. Whatever mission comes, it would be much easier than struggling alone. That was fortunate. Why are you so gloomy? We collected all the keys. But Priya lowered her head deeply. I was just useless. I neither affirmed nor denied her words. She wasn't wrong. Priya had hardly been of any help in previous missions. Despite her hard training, her swordsmanship and stamina were lacking, and she had no special talents in magic or healing. She didn't have any powerful allies supporting her either. To me, it seemed the Orsini family had used her rather than following her out of loyalty. In front of me was just one powerless person at a loss in a given situation. A normal girl, huh? Different from that exceptional prince. If the prince had been the protagonist of the Tovania story, as Tell said, the difficulty might have dropped several levels. The difference between the two siblings was that extreme. Sorry. Priya's cheeks were red. Not out of embarrassment, but out of shame.
I wanted to be like my brother. His firm conviction, that steel-like will, the charisma that led everyone. I envied it. But no matter how hard I try, I can't catch up to my brother. I remained silent. Suddenly, I thought of someone who might be wielding a spear right now. They seemed oddly similar. That's a talent in its own way. Not everyone could have the qualities of a leader just by trying. Most people end up as ordinary members of society. Let's see. Light was filling the cave. Once that light enveloped my body, I would return to the waiting room. However, the flow of light was very slow. Was it the aftermath of the mission state becoming abnormal? I guess we will return to the ground next. Gathering the keys wasn't the end. To deal with the eggs before they hatch, we had to somehow handle them. I had scouted the floating island before entering the fortress and saw a large monster army gathered near the eggs. There were thousands of monsters swarming around the eggs. It seemed the objective for the 50th floor mission was also set. Light began to gradually envelop my body. Something that should be here is gone. I recalled the sparrow's words. Right. The Orsini's family. They were supposed to assist in the battle on the ground, but the NPC support force had been destroyed. The difficulty of the 50th floor will skyrocket. We might have to fight the monster army solely with the power of the heroes. Returning to the tower isn't the end. If we delay too long, the eggs will hatch. Under normal circumstances, we would hold out as long as possible and build up our strength, but we don't seem to have that luxury. If we take our time and the larvae emerge from the eggs, the difficulty of the mission will skyrocket to near impossible levels. A full-scale battle with the monsters. Unlike before, where we could break through with a small force or use tricks, this time it wouldn't work. If the enemy overwhelmed us with sheer numbers, we had to use a similar method. Dozens of heroes wouldn't be enough. We needed hundreds. The same went for the airship. Even after capitalism was built, it wouldn't be enough to move the heroes on a large scale. We needed at least 5 ships. 5 airships and hundreds of combat heroes, plus the non-combat personnel and various equipment and facilities to support them. We were short, desperately short on resources. Gold, gems, and other materials. What we gained from daily dungeons was far from enough. Stage clear. Han, 4 stars, has leveled up. Reward, 10,000 gold. MVP, Han, 4 stars. The clear message appeared, and light enveloped my whole body. I looked at Priya, who was crouching. It wasn't her fault. The situation had simply taken a turn for the worse. The boss stage rewards are ridiculously stingy.
I closed my eyes.
Chapter 203. After returning to the waiting room, I spent the next 2 days almost bedridden. If it had just been wounds from swords or arrows, it wouldn't have mattered, but the after effects of Ascend couldn't be cured with simple recovery. Jenna, who had been pestering me about what happened, sat beside my bed as I explained the recent events. The mission type had suddenly changed, leaving me alone, but I managed to clear up to the 45th floor. For more details, they could check the replay stone. I could leave out the conversation with the sparrow about Imperial secrets, since only I could hear its voice. Anyway, the important thing wasn't what happened on the 45th floor. No matter how difficult it was, that mission was already in the past. What mattered was the future. The mission on the 50th floor was almost set. To prepare, we needed to enhance the waiting room's power, not just in quantity, but in quality. The members of Party 1, including myself, still weren't familiar with the combat method involving engravings. To handle boss-level enemies in future missions, we needed to improve this as well. We'd also have to do something about anything. After returning from the 45th floor, a red warning icon with a notification window appeared on the right side of the menu screen. Warning: the next main mission has a time limit. If you do not clear it within the designated period, the difficulty will increase significantly. The designated period meant before the eggs hatched. Anything would understand this too. If we didn't hurry to clear the 50th floor, things would get troublesome. It was impossible to ignore the warning window flashing every time he logged in. Thus, the entire waiting room was in a state of emergency. A summary of the current waiting room situation. A few days later, in the mansion's office, I received the paper from Nerissa. On the white sheet, the progress of the Townia Power Enhancement Plan was detailed. We've recruited 100 lower-level heroes and added 5 high-level heroes. They're all currently receiving training from the instructors in the training center and the equipment workshop, Nerissa calmly reported. The content was nothing special. It simply stated that we had summoned a bunch of heroes and were frantically making equipment. It seems we can deploy them to the front line within a month at the latest. A month? Huh. The period should be longer than that. I had set the deadline at about 2 months. Once these guys became useful and the equipment was ready, we'd have about 200 combat positions. Yes, that's correct. How about it? Do you think it will work? Nerissa furrowed her brow. She had also watched the video of the 45th floor via the replay stone. In that record, there was a scene where I, along with Priya, looked down on thousands of monsters stationed near the eggs. Unless there are reinforcements or a special object, there won't be reinforcements, nor special objects. In that case, Nerissa didn't answer. She meant it would be tough. Our numbers are lacking. Would it be okay to recruit more? It will be difficult, Nerissa replied, shaking her head. There's a limit to the materials we collect from the weekly dungeons. Indeed, I tapped the desk with my forefinger. Currently, the total number of main and sub-combat positions in the waiting room was about 100. We had just recruited another 100, making it 200. But simply recruiting wasn't enough. We had to feed them, equip them, train them, and maintain their morale. We can't manage anymore. The master's level is 45. At most, an intermediate weekly dungeon is open. Since the amount we can collect in a day is limited, there's a limit to relying only on the weekly dungeons. I can't just feed them potatoes either. Anything knew this too. Recruiting recklessly wouldn't make them stronger. Without proper support, it would be meaningless. If we can't increase the quantity, how about improving the quality? We're doing that. Velkist was acting as a daily instructor in the training center. This morning, I had forcibly dragged him from the private training room where he was rolling around. He was so stubborn about not wanting to go. In the afternoon, Jenna's supposed to go, and in the evening, Adis. We also prepared a large number of replay stones to supplement the new recruits' lack of mission experience. They would experience the recorded videos from the 5th to the 45th floor and start leveling up from the 1st floor.
One unique point, it was impossible to repeatedly challenge floors 41 to 44. Even though it was a substage, there was a lock on it. As a result, new recruits found it hard to reach level 40 and above. This was one of the adverse conditions. What's the status of the airship? In early yesterday morning, Lusek was completed. Nerissa laid out the report on the desk. It stated that capitalism had been upgraded for combat and the second airship, Lucette, was completed. At the bottom, there was a note from the responsible magical engineer requesting a week's vacation due to working over 10 days of overtime and catching a cold. I will convey that to Saris. I tore the report in two and threw it in the trash can. Nerissa cleared her throat a couple of times. I will convey that. If that person tries to run away, Nerissa took out a rope and handcuffs. Good. Well prepared. I nodded in satisfaction. Is this enough to relay to anything? I took out a white paper from the drawer, dipped a quill in blue ink, and started writing a report to show anything. The heroes are being trained in the training center. Another airship has been completed. It would be good to start constructing the third airship. The report I wrote would appear at the top of anything's game screen when he logged in, just like how Saris used to do. So busy I could die. Originally, after clearing a boss stage, a brief rest was given, but not this time. We had to go straight into a war footing. There wasn't a moment to spare. There wasn't even proper rest. Even while suffering from the after effects of Ascend, I handled the duties of the waiting room, receiving reports in the morning, writing reports in the afternoon, conveying anything's orders in the evening, and personal training at dawn. My daily sleep was about 3 hours. It was a murderous schedule. How much material is left in the warehouse? We received a lot of material as an event reward last time. Nerissa immediately handed over the warehouse item list. I couldn't help but sigh. It was almost depleted. It seemed most of it had been used up in building the new airship. Building a third airship. It's tough, isn't it? It wasn't just wood or metal, but the core materials like levitating stones and blueprints were lacking. These items didn't drop from weekly dungeons. They either came from exploration dungeons very rarely or had to be sourced from places other than the waiting room. We need at least 5 more. Airships were useful battle tools and essential for transporting heroes. They were crucial for operating large-scale troops. Shall we cancel the construction order? No, tell them to prepare. I'll find a way to get the materials. Nerissa looked at me with doubtful eyes. It wasn't unreasonable. There were no more sources for the materials now. Currently, with Taunia's resources alone, we couldn't increase our forces any further. But that's only here. Anything had studied Pick Me Up quite a bit. He would come up with a solution on his own without me having to force advice. I decided to wait until he logged in that evening. Welcome to Pick Me Up. In the evening, loading was complete. Touch Select. As usual, anything logged in. Master, there is an unread report. Would you like to check it? Writer, Han, 4 stars. Yes. The report I had written appeared on the control screen. Beep. Submaster Han, 4 stars. Suggestion. It is recommended to build a new airship. Anything immediately entered the warehouse to check the items. Of course, there were hardly any materials left. After closing the warehouse, anything paused on the main screen for a while. He seemed to be contemplating what to do. I miss the old days. I looked to my side. Velkist, who had taken off his shirt, was swinging a sword at a steel dummy. The old days? It's so annoying to care about others. Back then, I only had to think about myself. Why, you don't like teaching? Don't make me laugh. Velkist pulled out a blue dagger and slashed his forearm. It was a special paralyzing drug made by Nerissa. In a paralyzed state, Velkist continued to swing his sword. Wild Mode. A skill that converts status ailments into strength. That guy had learned a battle method as reckless as mine. I don't like fighting in groups. I also dislike pretending to be friendly and sticking together. Crash! The upper body of a steel golem was shattered and flew away. It was a strength that surpassed human limits. Hero or whatever, I can't stand complicated situations. It's either kill or be killed. Nothing more. You're a scary guy.
You're not one to talk, Senior. Velkus threw away the steel sword with the blade all broken. Then he put on a robe and walked toward me. So, what's up? When I asked you to fight before, you brushed me off saying you were busy. Have you changed your mind? I crossed my legs while sitting on a steel chair. This was Velkist's private training room on the 4th floor. As I remained silent, Velkist furrowed his brows. You're not going to tell me you came here just for chit-chat. Can't I come for chit-chat? Don't be ridiculous. Velkist snorted and gulped down water. I looked up. It seemed like anything had made up his mind. He was searching for help in the menu at the bottom. At that moment, the door of the training room opened and someone walked in. Oppa, you called for me. Huh? Velkist's eyes widened. Everyone had gathered. I stood up from the chair and closed the door of the training room. Jenna tilted her head. Oppa, Vel is here too. Are we going to reminisce about the old days? This is not the time to chit-chat, I chuckled. You guys, you know the situation, right? If you mean the current situation, preparing for war? Yes. The Master is selecting heroes and making weapons and airships. Even heroes who were unaware of the details could sense the changed atmosphere in the waiting room. You mentioned there would be a large-scale battle on the 50th floor, so I've been honing my skills too. It seems like Oppa Vel is doing the same. But you see, we're short on resources. I thought we had a lot. Do you mean we need more? Of course. We need to double it. Only then can we manage. But we don't get much material from the weekly dungeon. What exactly are you suggesting? Jenna, who had been deep in thought, stiffened. Oppa, don't tell me you're suggesting we raid other waiting room storage. If necessary, we might have to. That's a bit... I'm saying keep it in mind as the worst-case scenario. Piracy isn't that efficient anyway, and I never claimed to be an honorable player. I discarded any users that interfered with my play. Raid. It's not incorrect. If you lack something, you have to take it from others. But piracy doesn't only involve other users. There are ruins. They are special places that appear in sectors where masters of similar levels reside. It's simple. If you occupy those places, you can scoop up resources. And naturally, there, numerous masters are engaged in a free-for-all. A war for the sake of war. As I finished explaining, Velkus laughed and threw away the empty water bottle. Sounds good.
Chapter 204. A holographic window popped up on anything's screen. Tips. What is a ruin? Ruins are special areas placed in each sector. In ruins, you can obtain various rare materials and gems that cannot be acquired in the weekly dungeon. However, items can only be collected while you are occupying the ruin, so if another master is occupying it, you must take it from them. If you are the one occupying it, you must defend it solidly, right? In fact, there were ruins near the 30th floor where the dimensional rift opened. However, since the 30th floor area focused on small-scale battles, resources were not needed much, so they were left alone. But now, the situation had changed. There was a limit to increasing power through self-sufficiency. Even if it meant fighting against other users sitting in the ruins, resources had to be collected. Anything was looking into the ruins. Avoid unnecessary fights, but do not shy away from necessary ones. This was one of the ironclad rules to becoming a top-tier master. Anything immediately opened the airship menu and began refueling. Then he pressed the sector button in the Dimensional Rift tab. A wide map in the form of a grid appeared. The blue tower icon in the center was the location of the current waiting room. There were 2 red tower icons not far away. These were the coordinates of other accounts. However, an X was marked in the center of the red towers. Inactive accounts. In other words, accounts that had been abandoned. You've got everything ready. Most of the map was covered in fog, but at the northeast end of the current location, a crystal tower icon was placed. It was a ruin. After capturing capitalism, he had already instructed the mechanic to find ruins in the sector when there was time. It would eventually be used. Master, starting the dispatch. Available airships for dispatch. Capitalism, 3 stars. Lucette, 2 stars.
Available personnel for dispatch, 1 party, 2 parties. Next, the dispatch window popped up on the screen. Selecting an airship and party to leave this place would send the designated members to the specified coordinates. Select all. Will you dispatch 1 party? Yes? No? No. I looked up at the sky. Submaster, Han, 4 stars, suggests dispatch members, Han, 4 stars, Jenna, 4 stars, Velkist, 4 stars. There was no need to take the entire party. Kadio is an indispensable talent for airship construction, and Kishasho is enthusiastically helping the newcomers at the training center. 3 will be enough. In a war to obtain resources, I did not intend to consume manpower. After pondering my suggestion for a moment, anything eventually limited the dispatch personnel to 3. Are you saying we are going with just 3 people? Yes, too many would just be cumbersome. I'd like that. I'm not so sure. Couldn't the opponent pressure us with numbers? We have to aim for an advantage. We can't afford to waste combat troops in such a fight. Once things are somewhat settled, we'll call in others. From the 40th floor, the novice restriction was lifted, and in PvP, if a hero died, it was the end. We can do it. In the ruins, usually 2 to 3 forces are at odds. If you properly insert yourself between them and instigate, you can be effective even with a small number, and at the critical moment, bring in the main force to suppress them. I had used this method to occupy ruins in Niflheim without suffering significant losses. Of course, for the vanguard, you needed top-tier members who wouldn't get hurt in an ordinary fight. That's why I called Jenna and Velkist. Starting the dispatch, reservation has been applied. He must know that it's the hero's sleep time now. The coordinates were the medium-sized ruin in the northeast sector. The occupation battle would begin tomorrow afternoon based on the waiting room's time. Tomorrow, the 3 of us will head out to the ruin first, bring potions and weapons. Got it. Velkist left the training room with a cold smile. He seemed quite excited. Well, I don't like fighting against others, but given the situation, it can't be helped. I'm in your care tomorrow, Oppa. Jenna greeted me and headed to the dormitory. An occupation battle, huh? It's been a while. After Niflheim settled, there were no more troublemakers. The basic strategy was for us to go out as the vanguard, clear the enemies, and then bring in the main force. But, if possible, I wanted to end the situation with just the 3 of us. It was more efficient that way. Master, will you log out? Yes, goodbye then. After finishing her work, anything logged out of the game. It was late at night. I needed to prepare for tomorrow as well. There would be fierce days ahead for a while. Not that it was ever different. Sleep well. I said goodnight to anything and left the training room. And the next afternoon. Slowly. Come out slowly. From the hangar installed on the left side of the dimensional rift, the airship was moving. Ratty, dressed in a yellow maintenance suit, was waving a signal stick, guiding the newly constructed airship Lucette towards the exit. Don't be nervous. Breathe comfortably. Relax your hands. Yes, sir. Bang! The left wing of the Lucette hit the corner of the hangar and crumpled. Is it really safe? Velkist, with 2 swords on his back, had his eyes closed. It will be safe. Probably. Probably. I hate the idea of dying in a crash. Bang! With a loud noise, the Lucette came to a halt. A small airship 2 levels smaller than capitalism. Since we were going out in small numbers, this would be sufficient. It's gotten noisy here, too. It was completely silent when it was first being made. I looked to the right. Under Kadio's command, the 3rd airship was being built. Dozens of technicians were assembling the basic frame of the airship with wood and metal. You can board now. Clink, clink. The stairs descended from the railing of the Lucette. I firmly gripped my spare sword sheath and stepped on the first step of the stairs. Take care of the waiting room while I'm away. Don't worry. Nerissa bowed politely. Beside her, Kishasho waved her hand. Have a good trip, Han. I wanted to go too, but Gugu-kan keeps begging me to play with him. This little brat. I want to go too. No, Gugu, stay still. Go!
As she strengthened her grip, the pigeon dangled from her fingertips. I laughed lightly and finished climbing the stairs. "Traitor! After I saved you, you abandoned me here!" Noisy. Someone seemed to be nagging, but I decided to ignore it. When Jenna finally boarded, the stairs went up and folded. Lucette departing, hold on tight. Wong. The Lucette, half lifted from the ground, began moving towards the dimensional vortex. Kishasha, holding the wriggling Gugu in her arms, exited the dimensional rift. Narissa was watching me from inside the railing. "Get ready," I whispered to Narissa. She nodded lightly.
5-star summon. With a big fight ahead, there was no time to delay. After the occupation battle, we planned to start immediately upon returning to the waiting room. As the airship exited the tower, I gathered Jenna and Velkist in the cabin to begin the briefing for the occupation battle. When the fight begins, tens to hundreds of people will engage in a chaotic battle on the ruin field. We need a formation, right? It's a triangle formation, isn't it? Yes, each of us has to handle a sector. Didn't we practice this to death before? Recently, I've been training alone a lot. Well, that's fine. There will be constant fighting, I mean. Clank! The airship swayed sharply to the right. Velkist frowned. Terrible piloting. She's a novice. The current pilot of the Lucette was Roddy's assistant. His current position was assistant mechanic. Since Roddy couldn't leave the waiting room due to airship construction, we had to bring along such a guy for navigation. Don't let your guard down just because we have time. Even approaching the ruin could get us attacked. Almost all ruins had small or large battles, whether skirmishes or full-scale wars. Even briefly occupying it could yield great rewards. It's about time. It had been several hours since the Lucette departed. It would take 30 to 40 minutes at most to reach the ruin. From my memory, this was a chaotic area where battles occurred simultaneously. "Hey!" A hurried voice echoed through the ship's speaker. I listened closely to the broadcast. "We have spotted an approaching airship ahead." Jenna and Velkist's expressions changed. I signaled to the two and went out to the deck, half drawing my sword from its sheath. When I reached the deck, a white dot was approaching from beyond the sky. An airship from another faction. As I squinted, I could roughly see its outline. A small one. No, an ultra-small one. The airship was getting closer. Ready for battle, I had to let go of the handle of my sword. What is that? Rumble. A tiny boat like a fishing boat was flying toward us. It didn't have a cannon or even a ballista, and only one shabbily dressed woman was standing on the deck. In the corner, items that looked like supplies were piled up. The woman's eyes met mine. She glanced at me indifferently and then turned her gaze away. The ultra-small airship passed by the Lucette. What is that? It was definitely headed in the direction of the ruin. On a battlefield, such an unarmed airship flying peacefully here? Moreover, in the corner of the boat, there were materials presumed to be loot. Well, ignore it and keep going? The short girl in the cockpit nodded. No way! Several uneasy premonitions surfaced. That feeling intensified as we approached the ruin. All the airships we encountered on the way were unarmed merchant ships. Even though they must have seen us, they passed by without a combat posture. Some even greeted us. Didn't you say there would be constant fighting? Velkist looked back at me. The sky was clear, and airships were floating in the sky. There was no sound of cannon fire anywhere. Is it already solidly occupied? Even so, there were no surveillance airships from other factions. In Niflheim's territory, surveillance airships could be found frequently. Finally, the Lucette approached right in front of the ruin. A huge island flowing in the sky. On top of it, a giant crystal, dozens of meters in size, was standing. It was the ruin field scenery. However, there were no high walls, no tight cannon networks, and no airships preparing for bombardment.
Merchant ships were just coming and going along the harbor. Ding! Lucette has arrived at Medium Ruin 847D. The ruin is currently occupied by the Silver Star Guild. Would you like to check the guild details? Yes? No. What a sight! I laughed and said, yes. Welcome to the healing and flower-scented paradise for light users. Welcome to the Silver Star Guild. Guildmaster, Sechorum. Guild members, 24. Description: only for light users, building users, and non-combat users. We absolutely do not accept PvP-oriented users, so please head back. We welcome those who want to enjoy the game harmoniously and make friends. Let's have fun playing Pick-Me-Up together.
Chapter 205. It might not be to your taste. A steaming cup of green tea was placed on a square wooden table. Thank you. Would you like some snacks too? I baked them myself. No, that's okay, Jenna replied quickly, taking a sip of the tea. Velkist sat with his arms crossed and eyes closed. It's been so long since we've had guests. We only see the same faces every day. It's refreshing, the young man said. His clothes were loose, his glasses old, and he didn't carry a single weapon. He was completely unarmed. What is this place? Jenna whispered. As soon as we arrived at the port of the ruins, a young man with a gentle demeanor welcomed us, saying he wanted to host us. Following his guidance, we came to a villa on the outskirts of the ruin island. If this was a trap, we were ready to turn it around, but no matter how much we looked, there was no sign of an ambush or attack. It was just a genuine welcome. What should we do? These people don't seem to want to fight, Jenna whispered, looking troubled. I sighed. I wanted to intimidate them and take all their items, but I didn't know anything's intentions. We could easily counterattack if they attacked first, but starting a fight ourselves was a difficult decision without our master, especially against non-combatant players. We'll have to wait. Until the master arrives? Yes. If we wiped out these people, anything would be labeled as someone who indiscriminately slaughtered innocent, non-combatant players. If we were unlucky, some righteous master might start stalking us. It had happened before. You carry a sword, the young man said, breaking the silence. I looked up at him. His expression didn't change. He just kept smiling gently. So what? Are you here to take over this place? There was no need to pretend. I nodded. Still, his expression didn't change. You're not actually here to fight, but you need resources, right? Sharp guy. If we were here to attack, they wouldn't have let us in. Even in a non-combat zone, strength is necessary. Somewhere around here, there must be forces to guard against outsiders. Yes, we have an important mission ahead. A lot of monsters are coming out. You know how it is. We need resources from this place to strengthen our forces, Jenna said frankly. The young man nodded. My master would probably help. We share all the items we can. If you explain your situation, he'll understand. I chuckled in disbelief. How ridiculous. We were led to the guest room on the second floor of the villa. We had to wait there until Earth's evening, when anything would log in and make a decision. But, Senior, don't we need a lot of resources? Even if they share, it won't be as much as if we monopolized it. It won't be enough, I think. Probably, since there are 24 masters here. This is frustrating, Velkist muttered, biting his lip. He came expecting a fight, but now we were just waiting. I recalled the young man's explanation. His name was Adilung Rizos, a scholar from the Radelsi continent. He said his master, Saichum, was originally mission-focused, but changed suddenly on reaching the 44th floor, turning peaceful, decorating the waiting room, raising heroes, forming a guild, and mingling with like-minded users. They don't seem completely unguarded. I felt a presence, Jenna said, her senses sharper than mine. I looked at the tightly secured scabbard on my belt.
Did they really come here with just 5 people to take over this place? Originally, this ruin was occupied by a PvP-oriented user. He strengthened his forces with resources from here, imposed taxes on other masters, and ruled tyrannically. Eventually, the masters of the Silver Star Guild, including Saichum, united and fought a liberation war. After winning, the Silver Star Guild started accepting new members and sharing the ruin's resources to avoid repeating the tyranny. It was a heartwarming story. Not completely non-combatant, of course. I looked out the window. A crystal, dozens of meters tall, stood on a low plain. Welcome to Pick Me Up. Evening came and anything logged in. Loading complete. Touch select. As soon as the main screen appeared, the deployment completion and selection screens popped up. Ding! Master, the deployment is complete. Do you want to check the results? Yes. The island view appeared on anything's screen. It was a ruin field. There, the heroes of the Silver Star Guild were peacefully gathering resources, cutting rare trees, hunting animals, and mining ores. Anything watched the scene blankly for a while. Master, you can issue attack orders to the heroes. The heroes will immediately start occupying the ruin. Do you want to give the attack order? No. Sigh. I knew it. Anything declined the attack. If he were PvP-oriented, he would have attempted plundering long ago. Master, an unidentified channel chat has been confirmed. Do you want to check it? Yes. A chat connection appeared. The screen changed immediately. 75-219 channel. Saichum, is this anything? Saichum, I'm the master of the Silver Star Guild, Saichum. Saichum, I saw your heroes in our ruin. Do you need resources? Anything typed on the virtual keyboard. They are needed for mission completion. Saichum, we confirmed it's our sector. If you meet a few conditions, we can share them with you. Saichum, you're probably aiming for the 50th floor. Feel free to stay here and join our guild if you like. I enjoy chatting with everyone. Saichum, if you can do this, I'll make an exception for you. Is this guy a pushover? Saichum, usually PvP users attack right away, but you were quiet. I confirmed you're mission-oriented. I have a good eye. Anything typed again. We need a lot, not a little. If you make an exception for me, I'll repay you after clearing the 50th floor. Saichum, that's quite a lot. Saichum, it's okay. I'll talk to our guild members. They are all kind and not greedy. Saichum, however, there are reservations, so it might take some time for your turn to come. Silver Star Guildmaster Saichum has invited you to the guild. Do you accept? Tips. If you join a guild with users who share your playstyle, you'll have more fun. If they share as needed, there's no need to fight. Yes. After a brief hesitation, anything made a decision. A paradise for light users, full of healing and floral scents. Welcome to Silver Star. Current members online, 17. A guild tab has been added to the menu. Press the icon to view the guild status. You can now use guild chat. For more detailed functions, open the help section. Anything joined the Silver Star Guild. Guild channel. Hello, I'm a temporary guild member. Nice to meet you. Saichum, this is the new member Anything. Please welcome him warmly. Naruha, nice to meet you. Meowbark, hello, please take care of me. Blue Rose, welcome. With this, there was no need to watch any further. I closed the chat screen and finished my tea. Oh, this.
Jenna and Velkist were looking into the air. They could figure out the situation as well. We had steadily raised the research levels. Clunk. The door to the accommodation opened, and Audilong entered with a broad smile.
Welcome to the family, everyone. It feels a bit awkward now, but with time. We can't stay long. That's okay, please feel at home. Adilong placed a tray with 3 sandwiches and milk in front of us, bowed and left. He seemed to be treating us to a meal. Jenna looked between me and Velkist. We can't fight, right? We'll see. Who knows if they'll ambush us? If they were going to attack, wouldn't they have done it already? I think it's safe to trust them. Not everyone is bad. Calling us family is ridiculous, Velkist scoffed. I sighed. As you can see, the master has made a decision. To compromise? It's not a compromise, it's goodwill. We don't have to kill unnecessarily. It's better not to fight. Well, we need time, so we'll wait and take what we can. According to the chat between Anything and Saichum, there's a queue for distributing resources from the ruin. Since Anything was the last to join, we were at the bottom. The resources in the ruin are restored every few days, so in real time we'd have to wait at least a month. A month of waiting. Is that your choice? I decided not to give any opinions. Adilong offered us accommodation in the villa. We could train in the outer ruins while waiting. Even if we get resources, it will not be enough. To increase the number of heroes by hundreds and produce airships, we'd need to sweep all the resources from the ruin. This, the 50th floor, is going to be tough. The next morning, I was drinking tea on the 1st floor of the villa. Outside, heroes were gathering resources. We don't need that. They were materials obtainable from the weekly dungeon. The important rare items could only be obtained from the crystal over there. Slurp. I drank half of my green tea and looked ahead. Adilong was having a conversation with a middle-aged man at the counter. It's our turn this time. Please check the ledger. Yes, confirmed. Bang! The door burst open and someone entered. Adil! A woman with brown skin and a blue ponytail walked in. She had a well-balanced figure and a sword at her waist. Men armed with weapons followed her. We need to get a concession this time. What? You guys got a concession last time. The master needs it. What can we do? Excuse me, we've been waiting for 3 months. Sir, be quiet for a moment. The woman placed her arms on the counter. You know, our Silver Star vigilantes maintain the peace here. What if we weaken and an enemy invades? We can't let 24, or rather 25 masters end up on the streets. Isn't that right, weak sir? Well, she didn't say it out loud, but I could tell. Parasites. I finished my tea. The shoulders of the middle-aged man slumped. I know, we did nothing, so we will wait for our turn. The man left the villa. The woman smiled thinly and handed the ledger to Adilong and winked. Then again next time. As she was about to leave, her eyes fell on me. Huh, that man. The new family member I mentioned yesterday. Family, my ass. Watch your language. I don't care. Anyway, huh? The woman blinked as she looked at me. That man looks familiar. Was it in Dimension City? Maybe not. Never mind. The woman and her group left the villa. Adilong looked at me with a bitter expression. I'm sorry. You had to see such an ugly scene. They weren't like this before. They've changed, then. Yes, but we can't protect this ruin without them. They are necessary members. Necessary people. I chuckled. Yeah, it won't work out. Why do you think communist societies failed?
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.